episode 2 of the Miss Marvel show on Disney Plus. Those of you that haven't seen this episode, what we do is every Wednesday we go over the Disney Plus shows in the series. We just got done with Obi-Wan show, and now we are doing the Miss Marvel episode 2. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen these episodes or want to watch these episodes, please don't watch any of this because we will be talking about in-depth spoilers and whatnot. So as we go through, these are just my thoughts. You have your thoughts. I have my thoughts. If you disagree, that's what's great about this. It's a conversation, having fun. It's entertainment wise. So I'll critique things and review stuff and say things that you might not agree with, and that's fine. That's what this is about. So if you like this, please make sure you share, like, and subscribe as we go over this series. Okay. Thanks, Milky. I appreciate that. So I have to admit, okay, I don't like the show. Like, as far as like, it's not a terrible show. It's, again, we talked about this last week a little bit, where I'm a mid-40s here. It's about a 16-year-old girl in high school that's getting powers and whatnot. But what I do enjoy with this show is the first 2 episodes, at least, is the editing and the stylization of the show. They kept it up from episode 1 to this episode. Lots of little drawings going on. The texting when she's texts is in the background, like in the world, when it's like on her bed and whatnot. And I like this type of stuff. I think it's a very a cool stylization of it. Okay, this episode takes a lot place with her friend Max. And also Bruno. You learn more about her friends and whatnot, and then there's a new character introduced. And I'm gonna have to bring up the cast because I don't know the names off the top of my head here. So let me find the casting list real fast of Miss Marvel, so I get these names right. And I'm gonna butcher the names anyway because I'm terrible at foreign names and whatnot. But I believe the character that came in. What's the character's name that was the kid that she was like smitten over? Is that Kareem? Is that what his name is? Kareem? I think that's his name. Yes, as Cameron. Cameron. I'm gonna call him Cameron. I think that's the guy she's like smitten over. So. We're gonna try to do this a little bit faster because the other episode ran over a little bit. This was supposed to start around like 10 o'clock. We're about a half hour behind. So she comes in from the last episode. If you guys remember, she saved the girl that she didn't really like, the popular girl at school, and she comes to school now. And from episode 1 to episode 2, when she walked through the hallway in the beginning of episode 1, she was getting picked on. She was she had no confidence. She just hated school and whatnot. She comes in here, the kid that was doing the basketball or whatnot, she's a completely different person. This reminded me a lot of, if you guys remember, Teen Wolf. Teen Wolf, okay, nobody noticed him whatsoever. But then when he became the wolf, he had like superpowers basically. Everyone, he was walking around school, he was a lot more he had self-esteem, right? He wasn't trying to hide it anymore. He was cool, he was hip. And what I didn't understand here is she's strutting around, has the confidence, but everyone's kind of looking at her like really strange because they're like, why do you have this confidence all of a sudden? You know what I mean? So I don't know why I know why she has this confidence, but I don't understand the scene of her coming to school and having the confidence to everyone else because everyone else is like looking at her. But anyway, as she goes through, she meets this and she lands eyes on Cameron. Cameron's his name. And then her best friend shows up, Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno, though. And she's like smitten and charmed over this person, and he sees something going on, but he's jealous because he's the best friend in the friend zone. They start noticing that everyone in the school is talking about the event that happened at, what was it called, AvengerCon. And when she gets to class, her popular girl, what's the popular girl's name? I forget what the popular girl's name is Zoe. Zoe's explaining, I was there, and they label her. What was it? lamplight or something. What did they call her? Nightlight, lightning bug. What did they call her? I forget what they called her. Chat, help me out here. I think it's like landlight or something. I forget what it is. Anyway, she's talking about having a party and whatnot because to respect life and whatnot. This episode really hunkers down on the religion, okay, of Kamala and Max. Max is converted to the same religion as Kamala, where she didn't feel like she belonged or whatnot in that. What did they call her? They call her Nightlight. I think that's what she called her. Nightlight. That's what it is. Nightlight. I don't think she really likes that name. Yeah, it was Nightlight. Thank you, Milky. So as they're sitting there, all of a sudden the guy gets invited. Cameron gets invited to the party, and then right after Kamala says, "I don't want to go to the party," then he gets invited. And then all of a sudden she's like, "We're going to the party." And Max understands what's going on because they're both looking at it. But Bruno's like, I don't want to go. She's like, I think we're gonna go. So then they get into and they're practicing. Kamala and Bruno she's showing her abilities. And this type of stuff here kind of reminds me of Spider-Man. When Spider-Man first got his abilities, figuring out his powers, trying to figure out what it's called and whatnot. Obviously, he didn't have, in the original Spider-Man, he didn't have a buddy like this to share his abilities with. But in the newer episodes with Ned, he does. So they figured out that she doesn't have super strength and that she makes these crystals out of her hands that she can like step on or whatnot. The show has a weird feel to it. It feels like a cheesy teenage coming of age show, but at the same time kind of has like a high budget type of stuff. I do like it. Like if you took the Marvel out of this, okay, if you just took the Marvel out of this and just watch this show, the first episode and the second episode, it is a pretty good, decent show. The writing's decent. It's not great, but I really do like the way it's established and edited and directed. Okay, but if this was a show on TV and I was just like, oh, like a Netflix movie or something, I'd be like, oh, it's pretty good, right? But it's as a Marvel film, I'm like, I don't know if I really like it. Okay. They show her like working out, trying to bulk up, do a little montage scene. She's practicing her powers. She's stepping on the things. They're doing this whole moment. And there's this one moment where Bruno's playing a video game, and you can see that she's getting the idea from the video game. See, and they say video games are so violent. Video games, I don't know what game that is, by the way. If anyone can tell me if it's a made-up game or if it's an actual game. But makes platforms. Right? Not the greatest superpower, by the way. Not the greatest superpower, making platforms. But some of the teens look mid-20s. Well, she's actually like 19, right? They do look older. But think about this. Like, Milky, 90210, Luke Perry was like 30-something years old playing a high school kid. You know what I mean? So they go on the roof. She starts to create these discs to step on and whatnot. They're trying to figure out the weight capacity, how long they last for. This part made me laugh a little bit because where do you get programs like this? Okay, I look for programs for certain things that I have to do. Did Bruno code this himself? I'm assuming he did because it doesn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden he figures out, well, it's not coming from the bracelet. It's coming from the inside of you. And I was just like, okay. So I'm trying to just figure out, like, did he say, like, I made this program to monitor you? I don't think he did. Okay, let me rewind here for a second. Maybe he did. Okay, but again, these type of moments that happen in shows and movies, when certain things, okay, he just says, so it looks like your power isn't coming from the bangle, okay? It's coming from within you. He doesn't say like, hey, I made this program to scan you or whatnot, using his Windows tablet, by the way. But I just need a little thing in movies like this when you see something out of the blue. Same thing happened in Moon Knight when they're out in the middle of the desert. She's got a perfect signal. I don't have a perfect signal in my house. Meanwhile, Layla had a perfect signal in the desert, and she was like looking up stuff and knew where the stars were 2,000 years ago. Okay, I just need a line. I just need a line of, hey, because we know he's a genius. We know that he's going to tech school or whatever. Okay, that he's an early graduate or whatnot. So just give me a line. Hey, I was working on this program, and this program that says that it's not coming from your bracelet. It's coming from your body, right? Just something. I know it's minute, but they need to do something. Okay. So he says, just like the bangle unlocked the superpower within you. She starts to make stuff. He's doing more tests. She can't figure out what's going on. Like, it's stuck to her hand. She doesn't know what to do. It's hard crystals. It hits him in the head, and kind of like knocks him out. So you know what type of damage they can do. You can see that she's buddy. Like, she is not interested. He's in the friend zone, 100%. Bruno's in the friend zone. They're trying to figure out. She's like, am I Asgardian? Am I related to Thor? And he's like, no, I didn't say anything like that, right? And she's like, well, I could be, right? And then, so we're trying to figure out what her powers are. As the audience, we don't know. We know what Miss Marvel's powers were and that she was Inhuman, but we don't know what these powers are as far as where does she get her powers from? Why is her great-grandmother and whatnot having these powers? And then we find out a little bit more about what's happening to her ancestors with this, right? So she finally starts to test out if she can step on the platforms or whatnot. And then they're looking at the bracelet, and the bracelet has like these markings on it. They don't know what it is. They don't know what type of language it is. They're trying to figure what it is, what it's out. Okay, he says light comes out of you and it hardens. So they're trying to figure out what, and she's just constantly trying to, the origin stories of what her powers are. And all this stuff is fine, right? Why you would test out off a building like this to see if it holds you. I mean, you could have just done like 4 feet above the ground or something, but instead you decide to go off a building. It was pretty funny. I was just like, all right, whatever. I knew she was Inhuman, but they haven't told us that she's Inhuman because there's been no Inhumans in the Marvel Universe yet. You know what I'm saying, Milky? So we know she's Inhuman in the video game and the comic books, but in the show, we don't know if that's what they're going to do with the power, right? So she falls off the building, which is really not a building, and she's like 2 feet off the ground, and then he just drops her, and it's fine, right? So again, she starts to now manifest the things from her feet, from her hands. She can do anything she wants. So which is here's the weird thing, and I like this and I don't like this, right? So obviously Disney and Marvel want to show that anyone could be a superhero. It doesn't matter your ethnicity, your athletic ability, and stuff like that. But she's running around and she's trying to do like parkour stuff when she's running around the rooftop. And it sounds weird because when Spider-Man was doing it, he had the agileness of a spider and a kid, and he was ripped. She doesn't get any of those powers. She is a average person, right? She's not an athletic person. So when she's running around, jumping off chairs and stuff, I get the innocence of it as far as like if I'm trying to put myself in this position. Like if I was a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old watching this, like you would look at it and go, yeah, this is pretty neat. This is pretty cool. But she's not that average person. This is almost feels like a parody superhero show than an actual superhero show, if that makes sense, right? That are 5 feet off the ground in that scene. That are 5 feet? You mean when she's on top of the thing? That's like 9 feet. If that's what you're talking about. Right? So she has this, like, she can make a slide, she's jumping off things, and the CGI of this scene looked really, really weird. Okay. Here's where the episode takes a little bit of a turn. All right. So her and Max are late to going to mosque, right? That's what it's called, mosque. And they're in the room, and they're they're like washing up, they're freshening up, they put their shoes away, they're trying to show them how normal they are, what their religious part of the stuff is, right? And I get this as well, as far as they're trying to show that any nationality and any person can be a hero. It's not a hero in the legalized person that you can see that would be the hero. So they're showing that they're in the spot, and they're washing up in the showers that are broke, run down, things are breaking, handles are falling off, and they make a statement, right? The tiles fell off when they were in there. Now they're inside the mosque, and the women are behind the fence. Now, obviously, I'm assuming, I've never been to one, this is how it is, where the men are up front and they get to hear the stuff and see the stuff, and the women are not. They're seen, not heard, type of thing. And I thought they were pushing this a little too hard on this, because then what they did was, if they just showed it to us like this, I feel like educating us on what that is, because not all of us know all different religions and whatnot. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. But then obviously it's girl power, where I'm gonna uprise, and we're gonna take this over, type of thing, right? So all these adults and wives and grandmothers and whatnot, and the young 16-year-old is now going to be on the board, the board of directors, I guess, to run for it, which I guess is trying to tell a couple things here, right? That if you want change, you got to do it yourself. But then the girls interrupt the I don't know, the headmaster, and all the girls are quiet except for the two girls on the phone. And then the guys all kind of turn around, and they're trying to beat it into us that the men are better than the women get no respect, type of thing. And I just don't know if this seems like a lot of this has always been going on with their past broadcasts. And I don't think they needed this part, right? They could have introduced a little bit of the stuff, but they're really trying to beat into, like, the men are pristine and the small acts every day of kindness, and we got moldy carpets, and we're literally crumbling around us, and no one's cares for us because we're women, and the women have to fight back. And I was just like, okay, and I don't know, and I'm trying to be, I'm saying it as I'm speaking the truth here, like, I'm trying to see it from the perspective, right? One, I'm not this religion. I'm not into this mosque. Two, I'm a man, and but I'm looking at this going, I feel like this is preaching, but I don't know if it's preachy because it is preachy, or if it's preachy because of the scope of what's happening in the industry right now. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide if you guys feel the same way or not feel the same way. Either way, okay. So as they're in here, she says, I'm going to run for the office. Again, the white girl that decides that there's problems everywhere. She's not the perfect person. Her parents don't like her because she switched religions. She's rich. She has her 8th pair of Gucci shoes stolen or whatever. They're outside, and now her best friend is running up against her dad's best friend. And then later in the episode, you see that Max really pushes up against the father to try to basically blackmail him or guilt him into voting for her because she's best friends with her daughter. Okay. Kamala gets back into the house, and she's talking to her mom, and then brings up about sneaking out and going to a party to AvengerCon, and her mom was upset about going to a Comic-Con, but then she's really honest with her mom and says, I want to go to a party. And she's like, okay, I'll let you go. And I was like, I'm a little confused. So her mom was not okay by going to a nerdy comic book convention because she thinks she dresses too slutty. Okay, even though she's wearing like a jacket and like the least sexy thing possible. And now she's like, can I go to a party with Max and Bruno? And she's like, yeah, sure. Sure, why not? Right? like it's just literally the next like 2 days after, maybe a week after, because there was like the weekend was the convention, and now it's like a week of school's passing. I'm not really too sure what's going on here, but she says, yeah, sure, you can go to a party. So they go to the party, and when they're at the party, uh, they're dressing up like it's winter time, whatever. And they meet all the friends there, and while they're there, all of a sudden the cool guy uh, jumps off the pool house cabana or whatever and jumps into the pool. And I have to say, it looks like he belly flops in the water. I'm gonna try to see if I can pause it. I was like, ooh, and I thought this was weird. Yeah, he definitely belly flopped. Like he literally ate it into the water. So much so that everyone around was like, ooh. Okay, they even mention it by saying it was a belly flop. Okay, but then he gets out of the water and he's like, yeah, I'm cool. It's like this moment of happening of I didn't understand this. I was like, did you just belly flop? Everyone reacted like he belly flopped, but he gets out of the water all like cool or whatnot. And of course they're smitten with him. And then you have this special effects that happen where Kamala basically doesn't hear anything. You have all this all these sparkles and flames and stuff going on. And again, I like the stylization of this, right? I like the stylization of this. So, you mean Red Dagger, because we all know that's who it is, right? Yes. But what I'm saying is that he belly flopped and then got out like he didn't belly flop. He was like acting cool, like he did something cool, but he didn't. He did something embarrassing at that moment. She's smitten, and this whole thing, the way it happens, obviously by the end of the show, we know that he's casing her, and I don't know why. Like, how would he know about her in any way, shape, or form? But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. Shows up around her, goes up to her and says, hey, you're on my shirt or whatever. And she's like, oh, sorry. And then gets her his shirt and they move on. And then all of a sudden the cops come and he's like, hey, I have a car. Why don't you get in the car with me? Let's go. And the cops come and then that's it. They're out of the party. Okay. So they're in the car and they're making small talk. And because you, the audience, are idiots, they got to make sure that you understand that she has something in common with him because they're both from the same religion or same nationality and they get each other. Okay, just so you know. Okay. And then they take the white kid who knows nothing about it and try to wedge him in because he's the jealous, there's going to be like a love triangle by the end of the thing, right? So they're there, they're talking, they're having this small conversation of Bollywood films or whatnot, and drops him off at Bruno's parents' storefront and whatnot. You can see that he's jealous, and they get out, and then all of a sudden, Cayman or Red Dagger says, hey, give me your phone, let me have your number or whatnot. And then this is where it goes into that one of those editing things again, where all of a sudden she's completely like super blown away and she's super excited, and you see the heart in the storefront window behind her, like she's in love. There's hearts on the thing up on top. Everything is pink, just like the last episode when she was texting and Bruno was texting back and forth. All the signs in the windows changed, and I thought that was neat. Like I said, it's an interesting little take on how they do it, especially when they put a filter on, and as they go blurry, you can see all the hearts and stuff. Again, I really like the style that they're doing with this. I hope they consistently go through. Then when she gets in the house, I thought this was weird. It breaks into this like musical, I guess. Okay. So the lights change. She's like fantasizing stuff. She's running. The music plays. She's like singing. It's sort of like it's a sing-along type of thing. And then all of a sudden she runs into the kitchen and her parents ask her a question and it comes back to reality. And she says, it's splendid, close the door, and then she goes back off. And it's almost like what was that? Zoe's Ultimate Playlist, I think the show. I watched a couple of episodes with my wife with that, and that's what it reminded me of, where all of a sudden she was like fantasizing, and everyone around her still sees, uh, you know, what she's doing. So she runs upstairs. She jumps into her bed, and then she has the text. And this is another moment here where when she's texting, they do like the bed sheets behind her all of a sudden are the text messages. And I thought this is another interesting, cool editing process of whatnot. And when she replies, it replies on the other side, and it continues to go on like this. And there's the hello and whatnot, and the stars and the fantasizing and how she's dreaming now, and it cuts to the dream sequence of her dream sequence, and then it cuts to her in school and she's doodling, and I like this little stuff, right? I like this little stuff. Okay, so as she's in school, all of a sudden, I guess she's still wearing the bracelet, and if she's not, I don't know, because in this scene you don't really see it on her wrist, but all of a sudden her nose is glowing. Okay, and if she's not wearing the bracelet, then it's something that the bracelet activated inside her. So, and then when she's in the bathroom, her friend Max thinks she's got her period, so she hands over a maxi pad and she says, "I know your mom's not like this." And then all of a sudden, her hand, she reaches up, and her hand turns into the light stones. And as she does that, it leaves from her face and goes to her hand. She doesn't grab it. She's like, "I'm okay." And then all of a sudden, she gets out and she's fine. She feels like everything's changing real fast, and that's like turning red. It's a symbolization that she's going through a lot of changes, and then she's also going through a lot of changes as a girl. She's going through a lot of changes as a superhero. Or getting her power. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and she's getting very overwhelmed. Okay. Max tries to relate and says, "Well, my parents can barely make eye contact with me since I..." So she tries to basically take over for Kamala, saying, like, "You're not the only one that has problems." And I guess this is like a reach out program to like kids nowadays, where if you have issues, don't think that you're alone and whatnot. She does still have it on. Does she? Because they don't show it. I'm trying to see if they show it while she's in the bathroom. They never show that she's got the bracelet on. It doesn't look like she has it on underneath the clothes, but if you say so, I'll go along with it. I know she puts it on later. Then Bruno gets invited in by the principal. I thought this was a weird scene. Just the way he brought him in, was trying to joke with him, like he made it and he got excited, and then starts to say, "This is your moment," right? And he doesn't want to go because now she just met the other guy. He doesn't want to lose her. He wants to help her become the superhero and do all the tech stuff. So he's like, "It's in California." So obviously they're going to write him out and move him off, and he'll come back down the line or something. Okay. So he's like, "This is your moment. This is the movie." Then as she gets out of school, Red Dagger says that, "I'll give you a driving lesson." He's like looking at her really weird, and he's driving a sports car in New Jersey. Then Bruno catches up and says, "Hey, what's going on? We're going to practice here." And she's like, "I don't have time to practice." And Bruno can see and feel her slipping out of away, saying, "Oh, you're going to go with him? Okay, cool." And then obviously Bruno's thinking that, "I'm going to go away to school. She's going to fall in love with this guy, and then I'm going to have no shot." Right, so that's basically what he's going through. They get in the car, and you can see him super cool. She's driving like a bat out of hell, crazy. He doesn't know how to stay on the road. And then they get to this diner, and then her brother's outside, and there's this moment they have together, and he covers for her, saying it's his cousin. Why do you have a British accent? And you can see that they're having this moment, and it is kind of weird, like why he's liking her so much, because they didn't do anything. He just stood on her shirt, and then they talked about Bollywood films. So I guess real easy to pick up girls nowadays. Just throw your shirt on the ground, wait till someone steps on it, and then say, "Excuse me," and then find the love of your life. That's the way it works nowadays, folks. So he's trying to be a smooth talker. She's just doesn't care. She's looking at him as Star Wars fans were looking at Obi-Wan Kenobi. They think it's the greatest thing ever. Okay. So all of a sudden, her brother walks in and starts to interrogate them. Finds out, he says, "Hey, our cousin, yeah, our cousin." And obviously, his wife, the one that, because the man's an idiot, right? Men are idiots, women are smart. His wife knows that it's not a cousin and whatnot, and then kind of looks at Kamala, saying, "Yeah, I know what's happening here." So they go off just to show kind of the bonding thing. I skipped through that whole scene. So then they get back to the house and they're having a conversation, and Kamala's there. And then as they're talking, they have this story. It says, I forget what the actual let me find what the name is, because I don't want to get it wrong. The partition. Okay, so they have this partition, and apparently all of them have this partition, and they all have stories to tell about the partition, and we'll learn more about this. So it says, back then when there was no Pakistan and it was all one big country of India, after the British just left us with a mess, and there's a lot of turmoil and stuff that happened in the past. They said one of her about her partition. She stands up, and the father still starts to tell the son's wife, or wife to be, the story of this, and says she got separated from her parents and the train station, and just before the train pulled out the station, the little baby got on the train, and they want to know what happened to Sana's mother, which is the grandmother of Kamala, and the mom, great grandmother of Kamala, and the grandmother of her mother. Her mom comes back and says that she disgraced our family, and then all of a sudden Kamala has this vision and sees this white light open up, and then there's a woman standing in the doorway reaching out towards Kamala, and then she flashes, and then she's on the ground, and when she wakes up, you see, the parents are standing over her, and mom is sprinkling, like, I guess it would be like holy water on top of her, and they think that she should get a doctor or whatever. And then they cut to a scene where she's okay. She's in her room. She's underneath the covers. I don't know why she's underneath the covers, but she's underneath the covers. And she calls her grandmother, and she's trying to talk softly, and her grandmother doesn't hear her correctly. And she's got to keep, like, screaming and get a little bit louder because she's hard of hearing. She even says, she's like, "Who is, our great grandmother?" And she's like, "Oh, I can't talk to you about this. She's like, you should talk to your mom or whatever. I can't talk about this." Her dad's overhearing the conversation through the, unlike the blast door that Reva and Obi-Wan were talking through, the dad can actually hear through the bedroom door because it's a thin piece of wood. So he can hear what she's saying. She tries to walk in, but in this religion, in this household, he's afraid to walk in because, one, he's a father and she's a daughter, and he's afraid he's going to walk in on her and she could be changing or something. So she holds the door shut with her abilities. He can't figure out what it is. And when he busts in, you see the Captain Marvel poster in the background on the wall. And then he looks behind to see if someone's, like, there. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I interrupted you. Go back to sleep." And that was it. And then she couldn't talk to her mom. The next day, wakes up in the morning, mom's putting eyeliner on, and she tries to ask questions, and her mom says, "Look, you need to drop this. I don't want you to know this. Just drop it. This entire family. She brought disgrace and shame to her entire family. Just leave her be." Okay. As they do this, they're going to this event because her brother's getting married to this woman. There's an event going on. They're having a block party. Max is looking for to pass flyers out to get the, they had this little moment where all the little cliques inside the high school, or inside the mosque, or inside the community, they need to get the blessing of them to. So Max goes up to her father to say, he says the white whale, and to get them. So she says, "How would you like? I'm the best friend. He's my best friend." Max is like, "Yeah, but Kamala's my best friend," and he's like, "Oh yeah." And she's like, "Well, right now she's helping me exercise our rights as citizens of this great nation to participate in democracy and to dream of building a better future." And he's like, "Oh, that's wonderful, isn't it?" Right? Because they moved from there to the United States, and you wouldn't rob two young women of their future, would you? And then the uncle's like, "Oh, He's like, or the father's like, you mean, come on, this is Kamala and me, and your daughter, and basically your other daughter, and giving him such a guilt trip, and women's suffrage, and we fought for this, people to die for this. And I was just like, wow, they're really going heavy on this stuff, right? Okay. And I was like, what is happening? You know what I mean? So, and then all of a sudden she walks away, and then the best friend turns around and is like, what are you doing? Right? Because he's taking her side instead of his side, which really caused a lot of problems. If they've been best friends for all those years, and then all of a sudden he's got to take his daughter's, So then it cuts to Zoe getting interrogated by the two FBI agents or DODC agents, and they start interrogating and saying, are you in cahoots with this person? They're interrogating her and says, you have to be kidding me, a big fan. Wait, really? Yeah. And it just starts talking, that they're fans of her on the following her in the social media aspect. So she sees stuff that they're talking and saying that you're in cahoots. She's like, no, it didn't happen that way. She saved me. She wasn't a problem. And they're like, all right. Did you see anything? A mask, a woman looked like, pretty identical, white girl, red hair. Didn't really get a good look at her. I mean, it all happened so fast. She's like, okay. Search for every temple, community center, and mosque is what they said. And then she also says that Latinx, and I was like, oh boy. So they're really going hard on this this type of stuff, even though people don't like to be called Latinx. It's just Latinos and Latinas, because that's the male and female version of it. But hey, so Kamal's at this fair that's happening. Yeah, he does the exact same thing with Ned. Yeah. So they're there and they're seeing all of these stories. Kamala's asking all these older women. She said, I heard she did shame to the women brought to her family. It says that she did this. She's cursed. She said, I heard that she killed someone. I heard she had a secret affair. And all this stuff is happening. And then it cuts to a little boy up in a tower to do a Instagram post up on a building out a window. He slips and falls, okay, and he's hanging outside the window, and he's going to fall to his death, and then Kamala has to save him, and she runs away. Now, I kind of, at this point, was like, does she have her costume underneath her outfit? Does she just run somewhere to change? Like, what's happening here? Okay, she just runs off. I don't recall her grabbing a bag or anything of the sort. Okay, none of the adults are trying to help or save anybody. They're not trying to grab a blanket to see if he falls to catch him. Nope, they're all just waiting there to see if he falls to his death. I'm surprised they all have their phones up in the air to record it, because obviously it'd be nice for the news. And Kamala is up on the building, and she says, I'm going to save you. I'm there. Tell us something that you like. And during this moment, which I didn't really like, during this moment of tension of, is the kid going to fall and die? Obviously, I don't think he's going to die. But they try to make a comedic timing moment. And she's like, think of happy thoughts. And the happy thoughts that you have, he's like, I like ice cream and pizza. And she's like, are those two different things? And there's like this comedic thing going on as the kid's hanging off the building to die. And I didn't really like this. Not that I was offended by it in any way, shape, or form, but I was just like, I don't really like this comedy act going on while the kid's about to fall to his death. So she makes these platforms real fast and runs towards him, falls, and she catches him. Again, it's like a comedic thing because she is brand new at this. She doesn't have superpowers. She's not. She can make floating discs, but she can't have super strength. So the kid's too heavy for her to even catch. And then all of a sudden, I mean, this says it all, right? This look right here says it all. It falls, and they make a big platform, and everyone's like, yeah, yeah. And then she jumps off and then leaves him hanging there, okay? And she does a superhero pose. Got to do your superhero pose, okay? And again, she's this dorky superhero-esque type of person. And then it's on social media. They don't know what this is. Things are happening. And then he's left on there. And all of a sudden, the bracelet flickers. It breaks. she sees a vision of her great grandmother, and then all of a sudden, I guess it breaks her concentration, and the platform breaks. Okay, the platform breaks, and when it breaks, he falls to his death again. She slides off and reaches down with her giant hand, misses, and then shoots like Spider-Man a couple of steps to make him fall. And he says, "My ankle." Right. So now she's freaking out because she almost killed somebody, even though she saved the person. And then she runs off. She's in the back alley somewhere, and then all of a sudden, a drone out of nowhere scans her. It's the DODC's drone, and then immediately opens up fire. And I'm like, okay, like it's smash. She smashes one. The DODC is in front, and then all of a sudden they're looking for her. They don't know why. They say, "Hold up right there." She runs up above them with the platforms. Okay, and they have guns pointing at her. Shoots the blast, breaks the thing, lands on one of the drones, and then gets away. Okay, or doesn't really get away until some random car comes up. Okay, and then she gets in the car. Now, I have a question. Why, in any way, shape, or form? Oh, sorry. Why, any way, shape, or form? Okay, would he be ready for a car to pull up to get her? First of all, she's in a secret identity. How does he know it's Kamala? Or is he just helping the superhero run away from the DODC for no reason, right? So he gets in, or she gets in. They start to drive. Now, what I thought was funny, when she gets in the car, okay, you can see in the back of the car, right? You can see the back of the car. There's nobody in the back of the car. Nobody in the back of the car. Okay. When she gets in the car, again, if you look at this scene, there's nobody sitting in this car. Nobody. Okay, nobody. They're driving, and then all of a sudden, she takes her mask off. Obviously, she knows. And then all of a sudden, his mother's in the back of the car. And then she says, "I've been waiting a very long time to meet you." Which, obviously, we don't know yet. But how long since we literally just met this character this episode? There's no context here, and he says, "I'd like you to meet my mother or my mom." And then she's like, "Okay," and then the screen goes black, and that's it, right? So overall, I thought the episode, it was okay. It's okay. I like the first one better than the second one. I didn't think that this one was bad, like overall bad. I think this show is just kind of middle of the road. I do like I said, the stylization and the editing and the way they're doing stuff. The acting is good. As far as I can't really criticize the lore and stuff of the character because I'm not a big Miss Marvel fan. So I'm learning and progressing as we go through this whole thing. And like I said, I liked it, but there's some moments that I'm just like, why? What's the point of this? It feels good as far as like a coming of age film or show, but as a superhero show right now, I'm not really feeling it. The special abilities that she has is not the greatest. She's not the greatest superhero, I'll be honest. The special effects in the show are pretty bad for what it is, but it is what it is, right? I got the impression that was her aunt. Which aunt or aunt? Which aunt was that? She's like, he's like, "That's my mom," but I didn't get that. Maybe I missed something. Did we see her before? Like, was she one of the people? because she wasn't the person in the vision. I think they both knew from the first time she went into the purple zone in Avengers Con. Both knew. You're talking about the boy knew from the first time. Like I'm confused by it. I just didn't understand. Like, first off, was he watching her? Like he knew she was Kamala, was Miss Marvel, and that he was following her down the alleyway to pull up at the last second to go in the car. It's just weird. I thought it was edited weird. It was cut weird on that part. I was just like, there's nobody in the car in the back seat when, and then all of a sudden, because I saw that and then I watched it and I rewinded. I was like, there's no one there, and then all of a sudden she's there. I'm like, okay. I just didn't really understand too much of why, uh, Red Dagger was there to catch her. I just didn't understand that part. I thought she was the aunt at her mom that her mom doesn't like talking about. No, 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 no. The mom didn't want to talk about her grandmother, not her aunt. It was her grandmother. He knew who she was from being at the con. So you think he was at the con? We're gonna get like a flashback scene like next week to tell us that he saw her at the con? Because he was a new kid that just transferred, right? He just transferred to the area. His goal, I believe, is to get the bracelet. Kind of weird he shows up after the bracelet is revealed. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, because isn't the dagger supposed to be some sort of I looked it up, like some sort of thief, he's good at stealing stuff. Yeah, it was just a little weird. She just found the bracelet. She's had it for maybe what, a week? This kid comes to school. It's like the first day. He gets invited to a party. The pool party, drives Kamala home, has a date on the Monday after. So like the weekend happened, Sunday probably off, then Monday they went on a date, and then all of a sudden now, so he's been in the universe for like a week, and all of a sudden like he knows everything about her. Like if that's supposed to be, then they should have done something along the lines of, like cameras in a distance, like someone's watching her, type of thing. I don't know. It just seems a little weird. Yeah, I know about the grandma, but I thought the one of her mom's sisters that used to use the bracelet in the past was talked about in the family like the grandmother. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I missed that. I thought they were talking about the grandmother as like brought shame to the family. I didn't think it was another person after the grandmother. I thought the grandmother was the problem. All right. So overall, we're gonna have a talk section in just a second, and I'll bring Zhang in. If you guys like this review overall, like I said, I give it like a 6 or a 7. I mean, it's a good show, but it's different. Like I gave a 6 to Obi-Wan this past week. Okay, this is a 6 or 7, but it's two different things. My scale for Obi-Wan has a whole bunch of lore and connecting points and 40 years of history added on top of that show. This show is brand new to me. 2 episodes. I'm giving it like a 6 because I like last week to me was like a 7.5. This is like a 6. The story overall was okay. It developed the story. Like I'm looking at it as non, as trying to keep it as far away as possible and look at it from both ends. And they are telling the story, unlike the other story from the other series, right? It sounds bad, but out of WandaVision, Hawkeye, What If, all of these shows, this character that they're showing us and giving us lore and backstory and stuff like that, they're probably doing the best job of, because they have to tell us it, because the other ones we already knew and they didn't have to give us any of that stuff, right? So I think by the end of this, it'll be an okay show. I don't think it's going to be great. It's a little cheesy at times. It does feel like a Disney Plus show, like a primetime Disney Plus show instead of a regular Saturday morning Disney Plus show, if that makes sense. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.